Hey, what's going on, Who That Nation? It is yours truly, TJ Jones, the host of the State of the Saints podcast. Thank you so much for checking out the State of the Saints podcast, where we talk New Orleans Saints. Want to give everybody, a special shout out. I want to give a special shout out first off to all of the mothers out there. Hoberry mother had a great Mother's Day. Shouts out to my mom, shouts out to my wife, and all the women out there that's going hard for their kids each and every day, and those that love their kids unconditionally. I also want to give a special shout out to everybody that checked out the last episode of the State of the Saints podcast. Probably one of the most controversial episodes I've ever done. Some people felt that I was dividing the Who That Nation, which that was not my intent. I would say I apologize, but I don't, okay? Because I think I pretty much broke it down. And a lot of people that's coming at me, probably just started talking to me about 5 minutes into the show. So everybody has a problem with the last episode. I encourage you to listen to that entire episode in its entirety and then come back at me, okay? One thing that bothers me about people is when they get into the comments or they reach out to me and they do not look at the entire body of work, okay? I will not respond to you in that regard. This is the only way I'm going to respond to you, just to say, go watch the whole episode. But anyway, we got another episode today. Probably going to be a little bit controversial. Depends on what side of the fence that you stand on. But we're going to be answering the question, is the national media, are people sleeping on the New Orleans Saints again? And I say again because this is a reoccurring thing, Who That Nation, and I'm pretty sure I'm not surprising anyone when I say this. It just seems like to me that the Saints don't get any type of respect. It seems as if everybody else, no matter what team it is, gets the benefit of the doubt, but the New Orleans Saints don't get the appreciation that they deserve for being a good football team. They don't get the credit for building something special. They don't get the credit on trying to build off momentum like some of these other teams do. Hell, they don't even get the recognition when they make really good moves when it comes to the national media versus when you look at other teams do so. And I don't feel bad about saying this because there's an extreme bias. There's an extreme bias that goes on in the national media when it comes to small market teams. And I'm not even going to just put the Saints in there alone. I'm talking small market teams. And I understand it because you all know that I'm into broadcasting. I'm into radio. That's my everyday job. I do broadcasting. So I understand that there are numbers that you want to reach. There are certain goals that you want to attain, especially when you are at the mercy of sponsors. Sponsors, they want more and more eyes, ears on the product, okay? The more eyes and ears you have on the product, the more money that you make. I get that point, right? So that's one of the main reasons why I feel like they just start digging and start reaching when it comes to certain categories. And we hear the same 5 topics every single day from the national sports media. No matter what station that you turn into, they're going to talk about LeBron. They're going to talk about the Cowboys. They're going to talk about the Eagles, the NFC East. That they're going to try to talk about Baker Mayfield not finding a home. There's always going to be those same topics because those are the topics that seem to be the needle movers. But I am not, I cannot defend when a national sports media company, a representative, when they try to downgrade smaller market teams so it can make them justified not talking about them. And that's what's going on, Who That Nation. That's what's going on, sports fans. They downgrade these small market teams so they can feel justified not to talk about them. Now, if you think about some of the teams that they talk about, for example, the Dallas Cowboys. They talk about the Dallas Cowboys all of the time. Now, even the biggest Dallas Cowboys supporter would have to concede and say that the Dallas Cowboys, based on the last couple of years, based on their performances in big time games, they do not deserve to be talked about. If this is about winning, if this is about success, if this is about the culture, right? I mean, if this is what this is about, right? Why are the Dallas Cowboys headlining every single show? Why is it that they try to find ways to try to sneak a Dallas Cowboy story inside of there? Because it's about the freaking ratings. Now, if we're looking at over the past 2 decades, who deserves to be talked about more when it comes to winning, when it comes to success, the Dallas Cowboys or the New Orleans Saints? Seriously, who deserves to be talked about more? The New Orleans Saints or the Philadelphia Eagles? The New Orleans Saints or some of these other topics out here that they try to push down people's throat? They continuously do this to these small market teams, and they do not value nor respect the efforts that they put towards to be good. But then they will turn a blind eye and say things like, oh, the Dallas Cowboys make moves only for the Dallas Cowboys to fail. And I'm only mentioning the Dallas Cowboys because if we're looking at this from, a justifiable standpoint, is it justified for them to be talking about the Dallas Cowboys? Hell no, it's not. But that's what they do. And it leads me to this point right here. Now, on ESPN's Get Up, Dan Orlovsky, of course, some of you probably know who he is. He was a former quarterback. I'm going to be honest, wasn't very good for the Detroit Lions, but he's really good at commentary, man, and he has a really good point of view. Now, I'm not going to say I agree with everything Dan says all the time because I don't. But he made this point when it came to the New Orleans Saints, and he felt that people are sleeping on them, and this is what he said.
Tampa Bay is a very good football team, but no one is respecting or paying enough attention to the New Orleans Saints. I think that the New Orleans Saints are a better football team this year than they were last year. We're adding a top 5 receiver to this football team in Michael Thomas. They still have Alvin Kamara. They drafted a top 15 receiver. This defensive line that has dominated the Bucs offensive line in the past few years is still intact, and the Bucs offensive line is worse than it was last year.
So, I mean, that's a pretty good point, right? He felt that people are sleeping on the New Orleans Saints. I'm going to take my Homer hat off here, okay? All right. Based on what he was talking about, I think that is justified, right? The Saints were a really good team defensively last year. We know about the injuries that they had, and they did some really good things. They did some really, really good things. And it was the topic of them talking about, the NFC South, of course, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Tom Brady coming back. And everybody just, for some apparent reason, just feel like Tampa Bay is just leaps and bounds better than every other team in the NFC South, which been proven that even though they had all this talent over the last 3 years, the New Orleans Saints still has had the Tampa Bay Buccaneers number. But you would think that would be enough. But of course not. You're not going to go on national TV and justify the New Orleans Saints being possibly better than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, especially when you have the NFL Golden Boy Tom Brady on the other team representing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is what a guy who I respect and a guy that, is really good at his job, Mike Greenberg, said when it came to this particular point.
There's 2 huge ifs.
Stop shaking.
If Jameis Winston is really fully healthy, right, and if Michael Thomas is really fully healthy and back, then I fully agree with Orlovsky. But those feel like ifs to me.
So you can exploit or look at the Saints ifs, but you can't look at Tampa Bay's ifs. The Saints won games when they didn't have Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas didn't take a snap last year at all. He didn't. You had members of the offensive line hurt. You had 57 different variations of a starting squad, but yet you don't believe that the Saints have a chance of knocking off Tampa? And they beat Tampa twice when they were down. I mean, they didn't have Jameis Winston for the most part, in that first game, you didn't even have Sean Payton in the second game. You had the same guy, oh, my bad, who is replacing Sean Payton right now. And Dennis Allen. Dennis Allen coached the second game in Tampa, which Tampa didn't score a touchdown, nor did they score a point. I mean, come on, man. But anyway, I digress. We're going to move on. Jeff Saturday, a very, very good player in his time. He was the center for the Indianapolis Colts many years. You know, he was the guy that was snapping the ball to Payton Manning. Really good talking head on ESPN. Really good mind. But check out what he said. This is his justification for the Saints not being good this season. Check it out.
How about a head coach that's 8-28 as a head coach, replacing not only a fantastic head coach, but one of the best play callers in the NFL. You have a quarterback coming off an ACL. You have a receiver that you're saying is a top 5 that hasn't played because of injury. Like, all those things, you can't just mask over them.
So they got some good points in there, right? Sean Payton, very good coach, borderline great, depends on what side of the fence you stand on. Losing him. But Jeff didn't bring up one huge point. Tampa lost their coach too, and Bruce Arians, a guy who people felt that, you know, supposed to be some type of quarterback guru, offensive mastermind, right? No risking, no biscuit type guy, right? He's supposed to be the guy who helped Peyton Manning, the guy that helped Ben Roethlisberger, the guy that helped Carson Palmer, the guy that helped Andrew Luck. He was that guy, right? So all these different quarterbacks that he has built a reputation of helping, he's no longer there. And he's being replaced with a guy just like Dennis Allen who got fired, right? And did Ty Bowles win a bunch of games for the Jets? No. Oh, he played for the Jets. Well, I mean, he coached the Jets. Well, what about the Raiders? The Raiders and the Jets are in the same category. It depends on what side of the fence you're standing on. When Al Davis passed away, Mark Davis took over the team, and the whole organization was a straight train wreck. 8-28, and I'm not trying to justify that because he still has to answer some questions. I'm talking Dennis Allen, and he had a .22 winning percentage. But don't make it seem like Ty Bowles, who was 21-36 with a .33 average of winning for the Jets, is supposed to be leaps and bounds better than what the Saints are going to bring out there. There are unanswered questions on both sides. And then, you know, he finished it up with this. This is the last point from Jeff Saturday.
And then you have Tom Brady, who you just called the second best on the greatest list of all time, coming back after retirement for like a week. You know he's driven. Like, all arrows tell me you have lost your mind Monday, Dan.
So Tom Brady is driven. Ooh, Tom Brady. Tom Brady was driven when he first got to Tampa. You don't think Tom Brady was driven when he spent 20 years in New England? You don't think Tom Brady was driven when they decided to go in a different direction, when they felt like he was just over the hill and he didn't have it anymore and his best days were behind him, and the last point or the last moment that he had in a New England Patriot uniform was a pick six by the Tennessee Titans? You don't think that he went to Tampa with a chip on his shoulder then? But that didn't do anything. The Saints still have had Tom Brady's number. Tom Brady in the regular season, it has 1,037 yards, 6 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, and a 60% completion percentage against the New Orleans Saints. Now, they will always bring up that divisional round, and they will say that matters more, which it does because they end up winning the Super Bowl this year. But don't make it seem that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, just because they won that game in the divisional round, means that they're that much better than the New Orleans Saints. Don't do that, man, because to me, you're going to have to explain to me, how do some of these teams, these 16-ranked teams, you know, in the NCAA tournament, knock off some of these single-digit ranked teams? How is it that St. Peter's can knock off some of these top teams in the NCAA? Are you telling me in a best-of-7 series, that St. Peter's is going to knock off Duke? that they're going to knock off these guys and going to win 4 games. Hell no. On that particular day, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers played a little bit better than the New Orleans Saints. And it wasn't because Tom Brady had 199 yards in that game and 2 touchdowns. And 2 of those touchdowns came because Drew Brees turned the ball over and they put him in really good field and gave him really good field position. So it's not like Tom Brady just took over the game. Tom Brady at home over the last 2 years has not thrown a touchdown against the New Orleans Saints. But nobody pays attention to that stuff. And the Saints are just so inferior to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa Bay Buccaneers lose members of their offensive line, but they got Tom Brady. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers has Chris Godwin coming off an ACL injury. Is he going to be the same person that he was? We don't know, but it don't matter because Tom Brady is going to be able to correct that. And the ACL injury that Jameis Winston sustained, oh my goodness, this is like when Gale Sayers tore his ACL back in 1960. Give me a freaking break. Give me a freaking break. Why are we sitting up here trying to make it seem like these guys are leaps and bounds better? And I told you this at the beginning of the show. It's because they want to elevate those guys and keep them at the top like Tom Brady so they can continuously talk about them and minimize the achievements and acquisitions and the draft picks of some of these smaller market teams. So when they don't talk about them, it can be justifiable. But you cannot deny what the Saints have done this offseason to become better. And you also have to keep in mind 57 different variations of a starting rotation. 50 freaking 7 variations. And they still were a San Francisco 49er loss away from being in the playoffs. So what are we talking about here? Are we talking about Sean Payton? Okay, Sean Payton is a really good play caller. But let's not act like Sean Payton can't be replaced. Let's not act as if Sean Payton play calling over the last couple of years has been just so off the charts that, you know what I'm saying, like the Saints can't win without him. I can make an argument to say that the Saints have lost games in the playoffs because Sean Payton was too arrogant and too full of himself when it comes to the play calling to call obvious stuff. Going for it on 4th down laden plays. When Jameis Winston threw 10 passes in a row, I'm talking about last season against the New York Giants in the Superdome, a game they should have won. Jameis Winston was hotter than fish grease in that game. He threw a touchdown to Kenny Stills that would call back. You would think that Sean Payton would keep him in a game, but no, he brings in Taysom Hill, who has minimum arm strength, and tries to throw it down the field on an ego throw because the whole entire Superdome seen Jameis Winston thread that needle down the field on a rope. Now all of a sudden you want to do it. It's the equivalent to me in that wild card game versus the Minnesota Vikings when Taysom Hill was throwing the ball down the field, threw the ball deep. I think Deontay Harris caught it. The next play, Drew Brees tried to do the same thing, gets picked. All I'm saying is there were a lot of times when Sean Payton should have read the room and he did not. And it cost the New Orleans Saints. You can make an argument that some of the games that shouldn't even been that freaking hard, in big time moments, Sean Payton wet the bed. So don't give me that stuff about, oh, it just so is, you know, they're gonna be missing so much. They're gonna be missing this. Sean Payton has an eye to the game. Yeah, he has a pulse on the game, and he's an offensive guru. But let's not make it seem like the Saints can't win without him. And let's not make it seem like the Saints can't be a formidable opponent versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and some of these other teams in the league. You look at the offense of the Saints going up against Tampa, they ain't been wrecking shop. It's been because of Dennis Allen's defense that has been causing interceptions, sacking Tom Brady, frustrating him from left to right. can't move the ball down the field. But this is the guy that you're saying is supposed to be the king of the NFC South. Give me a freaking break. You can say that Tampa is going to beat the Saints. That's okay. That's fine. I can understand your logic. But don't make it seem like all hope is lost and the New Orleans Saints can't be that good. And I'm sick and tired of people throwing Jameis Winston under the bus. Oh, I don't want to hear about Jameis Winston. I don't want to hear about him. He's not good. He throws a lot of interceptions. When the last time we seen this dude had 14 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. So if your argument, once again, and I say this over and over, if your argument is he turns the ball over a lot, what is your argument now that the last time we seen him after 5 games, he had more touchdowns than interceptions? So, I mean, come on, man. You cannot just continuously keep a narrative going. And I get why. Because people are sheep. People are naive. People are going to buy every single thing these dudes sell. And it is an absolute shame that they decide to go this route. Miss me with this Jameis Winston can't win. Miss me with the Saints can't beat Tampa. Because my eyes have seen me. They have seen. I have seen the New Orleans Saints beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 4 out of the last 5 times they played them, if you count the postseason. So don't tell me that the New Orleans Saints aren't good enough to beat Tampa. I get what they do. When the Saints slap them boys around, they minimize it. How can you minimize a 38-3 victory? How can you minimize a 9-0 victory when you're telling me that the greatest quarterback of all time who can weather any storm, he don't even need an umbrella. You're telling me that this guy is the best day since sliced toast bread and he can't score a touchdown or throw a touchdown at home against the lowly New Orleans Saints? I mean, come on, man. What are we talking about here? How can people believe the nonsense? I just don't get it. Like, how can you possibly convince somebody that their team is not better than another team when they are beating the dude that you're saying puts his team over the top 4 out of the 5 times you played him? How can you convince somebody that? Because of who he is? So what? Michael Jordan, in a lot of people's eyes, is the greatest basketball player of all time. But in the 80s, he couldn't get past the Detroit Pistons. The majority of the time throughout the 80s, he could not get past the Pistons. What does that say? That means that the Pistons had his number. That means that they had his freaking number. You can't change that. You can make it seem any way you want. You can slice it up any way you want it. You can deliver it any way you want it. But I seen it with my own 2 eyes. Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are not a better football team than the New Orleans Saints. They can win the Super Bowl. They can win a divisional round game. But they are not better than the New Orleans Saints. One game does not define how much better a team is if you play 5 of them. If we're playing 21 on the blacktop, and for those that don't know what 21 is, it's a basketball game. The first person to 21 wins, and we play 5 games, and I beat you 4 out of 5 times. That means that I am better at 21 than you. So stop with the nonsense. If you're talking about Tampa is better than the New Orleans Saints, you have to convince me why the greatest quarterback of all time has a 60% completion percentage, 1,037 yards in a regular season, 6 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, and his lowest completion percentage against any team in his entire career. Somebody make sense out of that for me. But let's go ahead and read some of these comments, man. Let's read some of these comments because this is the dumbest thing I ever heard or seen in my entire life. 504 Bull says, salute, TJ. Always a pleasure to hear your commentary and thoughts about our squad. We both feel the exact way about Sean. Yes, he's won us some big games, but he lost big games as well. Look, and this is not a swift kick out the door for Sean Payton because he will be missed. But let's not act as if some of the biggest games in the biggest moments that Sean Payton didn't wet the bed when it came to the play calling against some of these top-tier teams in the playoffs and some of these games that are do-or-die situations. Draft positioning, right? You know what I mean? I can think about a couple games. I can think about that Green Bay Packer game on Sunday night when Drew Brees was playing pretty doggone freaking good, and then all of a sudden you put Taysom Hill in, who was fumbling the ball like Tiki Barber before he was able to change the way that he was carrying the football. Dude had 10 turnovers. Dude was if you talking about a turnover machine, and you decide to take your best asset, offensive asset out and put in a guy for him to run a quarterback sneak, which everybody and their mama knew what was about to happen because we all, as Saint fans, were extremely frustrated that we knew that Taysom wasn't going to going to throw the football. He was going to run it. This was during the time before they start switching some stuff up. But instead, you take out your greatest asset in Drew Brees and you bring in Taysom Hill only for him to fumble. And that game cost you the 1 seed. And the Saints end up having to play wild card weekend against the Vikings, and they lost. It's stuff like that. It's stuff like that Giants game. Think about this. If the Saints would have irked out a win versus the Giants, then they wouldn't have needed the San Francisco 49ers to win. And how winnable was that game? How frustrated were you on that Sunday watching that game when you know for a fact the Saints should have won? It's stuff like that. So I believe Dennis' defense will hold us down as long as the Saints can score 28, 31 points a game every week, or we should win. Our defense won't allow many points. Well, look, I'm not looking for the defense to be carrying offense like they did last year. If they did, then shame on the New Orleans Saints for not doing what they need to do this offseason. Look, you see these guys, right? We can only speculate about what we feel are wrong with some of these offensive players. But you see these guys coming into meetings. You see the way that they tackle the game. You see the way that they dissect it. It's rather you got it or you don't. I do not expect for the Saints defense to carry this offense. I expect for the defense to be an extension of how great this team can actually be. I expect for the offense to be better. I expect for the running game to be better, the special teams to be better, and the defense to be better 1 year removed for being one of the best in the league. Look, this isn't like we're talking about a rookie coming in. Jameis Winston, this would be his 3rd season with the New Orleans Saints. 1 season, he sat behind Drew Brees for an entire season. The 2nd season, he started. So 3 years, you have had an opportunity to grasp this playbook. You should be playing fast around that time. And especially since you're a veteran, the league, the NFL should have slowed down for you years ago. So I don't expect for the offense to be out here staggering and sputting around like it did last year. These guys should be faster, more explosive. They should be able to have a better idea. Guys should be able to know their personnel packages, the audibles. The offensive line should be able to be blocking, for the exception of maybe a guy like Trevor Penning that's probably have to figure some things out. But guys like Andres Pete, Cesar Ruiz, Eric McCoy, Ryan Ramczyk, these guys should be on the same page with Jameis Winston. So they should be on they should be on cruise control. And they should be able to average 31 points a game. If they don't, then it's sad. Not just sad for the players, but sad for the organization. Because once again, your job is to fully understand what these guys can do and what they can't do. And are these guys giving you what you need? I can accept the fact that the defense carried this team last year. You know why? Because Jameis Winston, who is your best quarterback on your roster, got hurt, out for the season. Alvin Kamara, for a shorter period of time, was out for a few games. Michael Thomas, out for the entire season. You had Ryan Ramczyk, Teron Armstead. So I expect for you to have some issues on the offensive line. But I don't expect it this season if everybody's upright and healthy. I expect for the offense to be explosive. And you should too. I will not accept, well, the offense, they just trying to figure it out. No. Michael Thomas is arguably one of the best wide receivers in football, top 5. Him getting off the bus, he should be able to get you close to 100 yards. Alvin Kamara, basically is a cheat code. He should be able to give you at least 150 yards from scrimmage. Mark Ingram should at least average about 4 to 5 yards a carry on the carries that he get. And his offensive line should be able to block because these guys have been together for at least about 3 years if you count Cesar Ruiz. 3 years. These guys have been together, at least. So I would not accept, well, the offense just trying to figure it out. Nah, bruh. No. Chris Olave needs to be the one that's trying to figure it out. Okay? That should be the one that should be trying to figure it out. Some of these young players who will probably get opportunity to play for the first time, if they are good enough, they should be the ones figuring it out. The other guys that are out there need to be telling these guys what they need to do and keep these guys' head in the game so they can play fast. I can't accept, oh man, the offense, well, nah, bro. No, man. They got too many seasoned veterans on this offense. It makes it look young because Sean Payton isn't there anymore. So all of a sudden, like, oh man, it's pretty new. No, it ain't. Pete Carmichael been there from the beginning. That's the same playbook. So whatever Spider 2 Banana, gonna still be Spider 2 Banana, not just because Sean Payton ain't there. Okay? Pete Carmichael still calling that play. So you should know exactly what you're talking about. 504 says, no lie, I'm talking to this guy about Winston, and he can speak on his Tampa 30 for 30. Dude been with us 2 seasons. He didn't get y'all to the playoffs. The man got injured. No more talk. Man, who cares? Like I said, that's all they can talk about because once again, they don't do their due diligence. And football and these talking heads convince you that if a guy has a bad season, therefore he trash and he can't be fixed or he can't develop. Don't say that the myth is Jordan never misses a shot, never loaded a game. I don't understand what you're saying here. He never missed a shot? I don't know exactly what that meant, man. You had to explain that a little bit better to me. 95 Live says the only saying that because they won a Super Bowl, TJ, if they didn't win a Super Bowl, we wouldn't be having this conversation. No, I think we still will be having this conversation, 95 Live, because once again, the narrative is Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback of all time. And the narrative also is anything that he touches turns to gold. So regardless of what's missing, no matter who's going at the head coach, no matter who's on the offensive line that decides to retire or move on to greener pastures, you got Tom Brady, so you should still be good. And they're looking at it from that particular standpoint. I have no problem with that, okay? Look, I do think that numbers should change when Tom Brady comes to your team. I do feel like Tom Brady is an offensive coordinator out there on the field. I do feel like certain players come to Tampa because Tom Brady is there and they feel like they have a better chance to win it. But let's not act like we're so naive to a point that we have seen a team play against Tom Brady's team 5 times and that team has beaten them 4, but they still not better than them, or they're not better coached, or they're not better prepared, or he's having the lowest statistical numbers of his career, but it has absolutely nothing to do with that team. Like, miss me with that. Don't treat me like I'm an idiot. I just think that some of these talking heads treat us like we dumb. And in some cases, some of us aren't very smart when it comes to football, and we buy everything somebody says. We're not going to look at the numbers. We're going to buy, like, as much as I appreciate people listening to me, don't even take everything I say. Go and do your own research. Don't just take the status quo and be okay with it. And then, don't just be okay with that. And thank you to everybody that's here right now. I just asked everybody hit that like button if you enjoy the commentary. Fire. TJ, they got you all fired up. Yeah, I mean, because it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, man. It's ridiculous. It's like they're trying to convince you that 2 + 2 isn't 4. That's what that ain't it, man. That's old mathematics right there, man. That ain't what the new mathematics say. 2 + 2 ain't 4, but 2 + 2 been 4 since I was born, since you was born, since the beginning of time. But all of a sudden, it ain't 4. Like, I don't know if they get off on this. I don't know if they just feel like, oh man, I gotta come up in here. I gotta really say something controversial so we can really see, the numbers move up, or it's almost towards the end of the first quarter. I gotta really say something. I mean, maybe those Cialis commercials, they said that the numbers are down. They say the new Gen X commercials, they say the numbers are down. I gotta say something to keep people here so they can buy these products. I don't know what the heck going on, but all I'm saying is, don't spit in the air and tell me it's raining. Not me, maybe somebody else, but I'm going to call you on the nonsense, man. You have to explain to me how the greatest quarterback of all time has had his worst statistical numbers against a team, but he is just so much better than that team. How are you trying to convince me of that? I don't believe you, okay? In the words of 50, I don't believe you. I just don't. TJ, the Saints are disrespected because of what we represent, which is boldness in the face of adversity. So they feel like, how dare you have the audacity to go against our narrative? Look, I don't know if it's about our boldness or the fact that it's about nostalgia. It's about needle movers. I can speak from a number standpoint because here at the station, we have these meetings about where the numbers are, how we are going to improve, what we need to do to improve. We have these type of meetings. I understand that look, as much as we don't want to pay attention to it, there is a monetization situation going on when it comes to sports media. It is. It's about, look, I don't care how good you are. I don't care how talented you are. I don't care how much of an orator you are, how articulate you are. These sponsors care about money. They care about money, and they're not trying to waste any money. So a lot of these guys, to me, try to be as over the top and as controversial in their takes as possible so people can tune in. And, that's just what it is. But let's not be so controversial to a point where I have to be basically boo-boo the fool in order for me to, really buy what you're selling. No, let's not do that. Let's not tell me, I don't want to talk about the New Orleans Saints. They're not going to do anything, and then turn around on the next segment. Or the Cowboys, playoff worthy. Like, the hell out of here. Are you kidding me? Don't sit up here for 10, 15 minutes and downgrade the New Orleans Saints and talk about they ain't worth your time, and then turn around and talk about a team that ain't won nothing in 30 years. Something ain't right here. Something is wrong here. Just say, I'd rather you not even talk about the team. Every time you talk about them, is always, oh, they're inferior. They're inferior to all these other teams. You sit up here and tell me that the Saints don't have the capabilities of beating the Green Bay Packers when they beat them week 1? You're telling me that the New England Patriots, who the Saints beat early in the season, you're telling me that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a team that the Saints have beaten 4 times in the last 2 years in the regular season, but the Saints aren't worth talking about? You kidding me? You cannot be serious. You put those teams at the top. You put those teams at the upper echelon, but these are teams that the Saints have beaten, and it's not like by a field goal, or you know what I'm saying, a quarterback drops the ball and they pick it up for a touchdown. But I'm talking about decisively, systematically destroy these top teams that y'all tried to put on this pedestal. They beat them, and yet they're not worth talking about. Somebody make sense. Somebody make this make sense. It don't. We were $70 million over the cap before the draft, but Mickey Loomis and the crew have restructured contracts and cut players to end with $35 million under the cap to make the moves and draft players. Look, Eric, it's no surprise how good this organization is executively. You know, Kai Harley, who a lot of people, talk about being one of the best, if not the best, accountants in all of football. Mickey Loomis, Jeff Ireland really does a good job scouting these players, finding these diamonds in the rough, these undrafted rookies, to come in, to be able to do some things, special teams, and then emerge to be key parts of the team. Look, I don't think that's no surprise to anybody. This isn't up to debate. I'm talking about the way that they try to put this team out there as if they just average and they're not good and they're not worth talking about. This team is constantly slept on. They're constantly slept on. The Saints are one of the most disrespected teams in all of football. They go out their way to disrespect this team, regardless of how good things are going. If the Saints won 5 games in a row, the narrative would be, oh, they won 5 games, but the bottom is going to drop out sooner rather than later. Nobody, if the Dallas Cowboys won 5 games in a row, if the New England Patriots won 5 games in a row, if the Pittsburgh Steelers won 5 games in a row, then everybody would be saying, hey, ho, look at them boys going to the Super Bowl. Hey, ho, to the Super Bowl. That's what they're going to be saying. But the New Orleans Saints, it's just a matter of time before the bottom drop out, because that was the narrative throughout the history of the New Orleans Saints. Every time they had a level of prosperity, the bottom would drop out. And people who don't follow the team continue to read into that narrative. It's about the days of yesteryear. That's what keep these things going. How do you think the Dallas Cowboys, Philadelphia Eagles, Washington Commanders, how you think you justify them being talked about? It's because of the nostalgia aspect of it. Has absolutely nothing to do with win-loss records, has absolutely nothing to do with executive moves, has absolutely nothing to do about playoff appearances. It's all about guys like Reggie White and Jerome Brown and Randall Cunningham and guys like that and Michael Strahan and Justin Tuck and Eli Manning. Like, it has all to do with players that used to play there and fan bases that are a little bit larger than some of the others. But don't, just because those fan bases are a little bit larger than others, don't cut down the other organizations. And let's not act as if these guys aren't doing the right things when they go on these winning streaks. And their defense is playing at an all-time level, and their offense is playing at an all-time level, and their coaches are coaching at an all-time level. How many talking heads have you seen get on national TV and apologize to Matthew Stafford? Talk about, oh, man, well, you look what he did in Detroit. He's not going to do anything different in Los Angeles. Now this man is a Super Bowl champion. How many talking heads went out there and said, you know what, I was wrong, man. Man, he really playing out his mind, man. He really playing clutch down the stretch. No. Let's get into this. Let's get into the social media room and make sure that they delete that video so it won't be going around so people can hear how wrong I am. Like, man, have some guts. What a bold commentary at. What are people that eat crow and be like, man, you know what? I was wrong. Some of the most thin-skinned individuals when they wrong, but won't beat on their chest when they right. See, I was right. Somebody sent this video. Somebody put this clip out here when I said that they was going to win by 3 touchdowns and they won by 3 touchdowns. Bunch of arrogant, pompous individuals. I mean, give me a freaking break, man. Let's be real about this, man. It's time out for the fake-ish. And I'm not just saying this because, I'm a Saints fan. This team constantly gets slept on, and I feel like it's at this particular point, I think it's on purpose. I do. I think it's on purpose. I think they purposely do these things. I don't know if it's just to tick off individuals or, like I said, man, it just give them justification not to talk about a team. Alfred, I want to say thank you for the 499 says when the Saints win, they talk about what the other team did wrong. That's the only reason they won. Man, you ain't lying. It's never about what the Saints do right and what the other team, you know what I'm saying? It's always what the other team didn't do in order to beat the Saints. It's this narrative like the Saints didn't beat them, they beat themselves. How can you beat yourself into 38-3? Huh? How do you do that? How do you do that? How do you lose 9-0? Come on, man. This is professional football. These guys are professionals. How many times you see a team get goose egg? It's rare. I don't care how trash your team is. The Jets gonna give you at least 13. You know, like, come on, man. Like, the Detroit Lions gonna at least give you 20. But no points? None? RJ Barnett says, it's this simple. The only reason why people are disrespecting the Saints is because nobody likes Jameis and Tom Brady nostalgia. The narrative is Jameis Winston isn't a good quarterback. That's the narrative. The narrative is he's a turnover machine who is not fixable. And now that Sean Payton is gone and Drew Brees isn't whispering in his ear anymore, he's not going to be a good quarterback and he's going to be exposed. Look, all I'm saying is guys like Jameis, who has this level of confidence, a guy that goes out there and puts up, decent numbers before he was injured, I just feel like he deserves an opportunity. We have like this 2 or 3 year plan when it comes to the quarterback. If these guys aren't getting off the bus and giving you Patrick Mahomes first year starting MVP type performances, they're not good enough. They're not good enough to lead a team. They're not good enough to get better. What you see is what you get. A lot of these guys, to me, end up flaking and falling by the wayside is because of these narratives. Now, you can make an argument and say, well, you shouldn't be paying attention to what the media is saying. But look, we're human. We're human. I don't care who you are. A lot of us, as much as we try to, man, I don't care what nobody think about me. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. In some capacity, you care about what a person thinks about you. Now, imagine everywhere that you go, every media outlet is telling you that you're bad. They're telling you that you can't be fixed. They're telling you that you threw this interception and get this bum up out of here. Then you got to go on social media. Then you got to talk to your family, and your kids are probably getting talked about at school because you let the city down. All these different things. It is impossible for these dudes not to hear the white noise. And for this guy, for probably the majority of his career, has been said that he's a turnover machine that's not very good. And him to sit up here and do an interview and say stuff like, I can do the same thing your favorite quarterback can do. I can make all the throws. I know I can be one of the best quarterbacks in the league. A guy that can say that in the midst of scrutiny, embarrassing moments, and people looking at him as being the king of football follies, and he still has that confidence, I don't care. Give that dude an opportunity. A lot of the destruction of these players come at the hands of these media talking heads because they don't give them an opportunity to get better. They don't give them the opportunity to grow. They don't give them the opportunity to look at the game from a different perspective and maybe wind it back in a little bit, because they tell you what you see is what you get and you cannot get better. And let's not be one of those guys that have a personal vendetta. There's this arrogance that go on in national media. Not everybody, but there is this large number of individuals that are full of themselves and get off on guys listening to everything that they say and hanging on to every word. They get off on it. They get off on saying stuff like, you don't want to make an enemy out of me, like Stephen A. Smith, when Kevin Durant went on social media, was talking about him. Now, you talk about this dude every single day. He gets on social media and clown you. Now you saying don't make an enemy out of me. Why would you say something like that? It's because you feel like you possess a level of power that can be able to systematically destroy a guy. So if you can go on television and say stuff like that, you know what I'm saying, have that type of, have that type of like tone the way that he did, you don't think that they can do this to your favorite quarterback? You don't think they can do that to your favorite linebacker or your cornerback? You got to be careful, folks. You got to be careful. You gotta really wonder to yourself, is this really how I feel? Or I'm hearing this and it is going into my subconscious. I was like that. I was like that for a minute. I used to hear these guys because, I mean, come on, man. I majored in communications. I wanted to do broadcasting my entire life. And there was a short period of time where I was trying to find myself, and I tried to mimic my dialogue, my cadence after some of these controversial figures. So I know how these guys can, manipulate the game. I'm just telling you things that I have developed over my 11 years in broadcasting. Winston was in the top third of all starting quarterbacks going into the Tampa game when he got hurt. People said he is not a good quarterback or either ignorant or lying. I knew something was up when this dude threw 5 touchdowns against the Green Bay Packers, and they said he only threw for 220 yards. This dude threw 5 touchdowns. But it was 5 touchdowns, but it was 5 touchdowns. But how many times, think about this, man. How do you minimize 5 touchdowns? Hey, but it was short throw. Like Patrick Mahomes, I'm going to be real. Patrick Mahomes, first year started. You have to look at guys like Tyreek Hill and Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt was on a level how we look at Alvin Kamara. A lot of people don't remember back in 2017, Kareem Hunt, for a few weeks until Alvin Kamara started to emerge and separate himself, was the unanimous offensive rookie of the year. I've seen Kareem Hunt catch a pass that was 5 yards short and turn a 5-yard touchdown into a 60-yard touchdown on a consistent basis. But guess what? The quarterback threw the ball for 5 yards, but guess what? He's still going to get credit for every yard that running back runs. Now, I'm not saying that Patrick Mahomes isn't worth talking about. All I'm saying is you have moments when you have guys around you that can make these stats look bigger than what they actually are. But he throws for 5 touchdowns. It's the greatest thing since sliced toast bread. Tom Brady, 250-yard, 5 touchdowns, the greatest thing since sliced toast bread. How do you minimize 5 touchdowns? I don't understand it. How do you do that? You still got to get the ball into the end zone 5 times. How do you do that? How do you minimize a guy who catches the ball 149 times and has 1,700 yards and just basically minimize and say, well, all he does is run slants? How do you, think about this? Think about this, man. If all he does is run slants, if he's just running 5-yard slants, is he catching the ball 5 yards and falling on the ground? 149 times this dude caught the ball 1,700 yards. I'm talking Michael Thomas. And people are allowing individuals to tell you, oh, man, all you do is run slants. That is virtually freaking possible. So even if he is running slants, he still has to get off the line of scrimmage. He still has to get yards after the catch in order for him to average or have a total of 1,700 yards. Somebody help me out with this. TJ, the hate for Jameis is real. Something is definitely up. They must be racist or colorblind. I don't even think they're racist. Has absolutely nothing to do with racism. Not when it comes to Jameis. I think that for the most part, it's systematic destruction. It's systematically trying to, discredit this dude. Now you got some people out here. I mean, look, they are racist. Yes, I said it. There are some people out here are racist. Look, get in where you fit in. I said some people are racist. You know you are not. I don't have to put a lie detector test. We ain't got to call Maury Povich in order for you to know if you're a racist or not. Some people fall into that category. I'm not here to decide who's a racist when it comes to Jameis Winston rhetoric or not. There is a level of racism when it comes to it. But a lot of people are looking at what this dude did in Tampa when they were a train wreck, when they weren't doing everything they possibly can to put a team around him. They weren't running the ball consistently. They weren't trying to fix the offensive line. It was Tampa freaking Bay, so ain't nobody coming. The cavalry is not coming. Ain't nobody coming here. Ain't nobody coming to see you, Otis, right? But they coming to see Tom Brady, though. They come to see David Ruffin, though. I sang with David Ruffin. You know what I'm saying? I hit that thing, you know what I'm saying, with David Ruffin. So let's not pretend, because they won the Super Bowl a couple years ago, that this was not a train wreck in Tampa. And let's not pretend like they didn't put the best, they didn't do their best like they doing with time to put a team around this dude. Now, you put some top quality wide receivers around you. Yeah, they can catch the ball. Mike Evans, like, as much as you may not like him, but the dude is good. Chris Godwin, you may not like him, but he's good. Cameron Brate, you may not like him, but he's pretty decent. O.J. Howard, I can't say too much about him because he was always hurt. Decent when he was in college. But all I'm saying is there was no running game. There was no emphasis on the offensive line. There was some good defensive players, right? But as much as we like Quan Alexander, he was always hurt. As much as we liked Levante David, he was kind of hurt. You know what I'm saying, for the most part. And then Devin White, you know what I'm saying, he comes along, you know what I'm saying, he doing his thing. But all I'm saying is secondary wasn't very good. Carlton Davis kind of coming into his own. But you went out here trying to get like some of the best corners, the best safeties and all that kind of stuff when he was there, right? You had a good defense, but, I mean, wasn't no emphasis on running the ball and having this man throw the ball 40 times a game. Where they do that at? Where is it that you throw the ball 40 times a game and is equating to constant success? I ain't seen it. You can go back to Eric Coryell. You can go back to Dan Marino's 5,000-yard season. You can go back to the Saints when they was like the greatest show on turf. You can talk about the St. Louis Rams. Yeah, they won a Super Bowl, but all them years, you know, when they had Mike Morris as their offensive coordinator, they went winning Super Bowl after Super Bowl. One freaking Super Bowl. So it's not always equating to success. You got to put a T around a guy. It's going to come a point in time when you're going to have to run the freaking football in order for you to generate success. Throwing the football all over the yard is exciting television. But guess what? At the end of the day, it's going to come down to that running game. They hate our Super Bowl win, and we don't support Goodell. I don't think a lot of people support Goodell. I don't, you know. Every time this dude hit the podium on draft day, he gets booed. They ain't going to believe in you. They just can't take when you getting better and making things happen. That's life, and that's football. And that's football commentary in today's society. Cooper Kupp, he's 100 screen passes, and they say the best wide receiver, no big plays till OBJ showed up. I like Cooper Kupp, and to be honest with you, that may not be the example that we need to be using because, to be honest with you, I mean, he done worked our favorite cornerback in Marshawn Lattimore on several occasions, and he's made a lot of big plays. So I'm not going to discredit this dude. Look, this isn't like, oh, you know, okay, in a way, I guess that it is, but Cooper Kupp is a really good wide receiver, and he should be respected as such. He should be put on a pedestal, but so does Michael Thomas, and it shouldn't be minimized. The same, like, I do agree with what you're saying with that. There are certain things that he possesses, but I mean, he can be a downfield threat too. He had big moments and big plays, so I'm not going to take that away. But so does Michael Thomas, and I don't think people are looking at the fact. How is it like sometimes you answer your own questions? Like you'll say stuff like, "Why isn't Michael Thomas why isn't Michael Thomas, catching these deep passes like a Cooper Kupp, like a Tyreek Hill? But then you'll turn around and say something like, I don't know, Drew Brees can't get the ball downfield anymore. Well, you answered your own question. You basically said, like, oh, why Michael Thomas ain't getting those deep passes? Because Drew Brees can't get the ball down the field like he used to. So how is it that you're asking this question and you're also answering the question at the same time? Jay, thank you very much for the $5. Say, hey there, I am new to your channel. Here's some money for beer. Save it for when season starts. Much love. Who that? Jay, thank you so much. I appreciate the $5. Thank you. And hopefully this won't be your last time. And I also ask that those that are checking out the channel for the first time and those that are watching the channel, hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel. And we talk New Orleans Saints here, man. We're not the, we're not the channel where just you gonna blow smoke up your butt and talk about everything. The Saints do is great. I mean, sometimes you might hear some stuff that you may not agree with, but we talk about it here, and we're very interactive. Inevitable says, of course, people are racist. We don't hear anything about how Tannehill sucked in Miami, but we hear it about Jameis. Yeah, I mean, there's a racism aspect to it, of course, but I'm not saying that everybody's take about Jameis is built on racism. I don't believe that, and I just won't. I think there is, once again, it's this art of influence that people have become absolutely obsessed with. They've become absolutely obsessed with, Jameis Winston and, not being very good and him being a turnover machine. And that's the narrative. That's the absolute narrative. So that's basically what's being said. So I'm going to take a few more and then we're going to go ahead and get up out of here. Says, no, Brady looked like every quarterback under Bruce because Brady changed the offense every quarterback had and high interception touchdown ratio and sack 40+ times. That is true. Even Tom Brady's first year with Tampa, he probably had more interceptions over, like, I want to say a 10-game span than he ever had in his entire career. Jameis is a humble, good person. He is genuine and a phenomenal quarterback, and I believe Dennis is going to let him go all out like he did with the defense. Well, look, much I like Jameis. I mean, this is a year where it's a deciding factor for you, and a lot of teams are going to be looking at this and saying, well, man, they really put a team around you. You got one of the best running backs in football, one of the best wide receivers in football, one of the best offensive lines in football, and one of the best defenses, and you still couldn't get it done. So this is going to be one of those deciding moments when you're like, hold up, man, wait a minute. You know what I'm saying? Like, why can't you get it done? So he has to get it done. Like, there's no more excuses for him anymore. All right. And honestly, if he doesn't get it done, then they really going to be trying to destroy him. So he going to have to get it done. I feel like most media people are afraid to be different, so they just go along with what everybody else is saying nowadays. People want to feel part of the crowd and scared to be an outcast. Is sad. Well, here's the thing. I don't even think people scared to be an outcast because being a contrarian is the wave. Being different, going against the grain. Everybody else said this, so I'm going to say this because I want to be different. I just feel like it has everything to do with these dudes having the power of influence, being on television, getting a bunch of tweets and stuff like that. Man, you said this, such and such said this, being liked, being shared, being retweeted over and over again. It's this power that you feel. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it takes a special person to have this type of influence and don't use it for personal gain. Don't try to use it to try to elevate their career. Don't try to use it to create minions around them and try to create a narrative. It takes a special person to do that. And you have a lot of these guys out here who walk around with level of arrogance like they God gift to sports commentary. Not going to say many names. Y'all know who I'm talking about. And these guys get off on the fact that they can influence the masses. And they get in their feelings when anybody goes against what they saying. Rather it's exploits what they said that went wrong. Rather it's them coming up with a very logical dialogue to go against or counteract their thoughts. You know, they ain't trying to hear that. But I just think that's what it's all about. Knowing that you can get behind a camera and talk to people and you can influence the way that they think. Some people never had that type of power or influence in their lives. You know, probably growing up, nobody probably paid attention to them. Think about this, man. If you were the best writer in a class, and I'm not talking about writing raps, I'm talking about writing essays, paragraphs, right? Not having those run-on sentences, using commas and semicolons when necessary. You were a nerd. You were laughed at. You were made fun of. Nobody cared about what you thought, right? You know, nobody was giving you props for being the best writer in the school. Probably, you know, if there was a competition or something like that. Oh, man, I heard you won. Congratulations. But for the first time in your life, rather you were good at football, nobody, you know what I'm saying, or bad at football, probably for the most part, you're bad or average, wasn't the best. For the first time in your life, you matter. For the first time in your life, you actually, you're actually a needle mover, right? You know, like it's like, I don't know, going from, I know some people might find this as a controversial figure. It's like going from, you know, eating, you know what I'm saying, farina and pot of milk and drinking pot of milk to being Elon Musk. Right? You know what I'm saying? Like that's what it is. Yeah, so that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about here. I'm gonna take a brief break, folks, and I'm gonna go ahead and close the show right here, man. There's somebody here I gotta talk to. But I want to say thank you all for checking out the State of the Saints podcast. Really do appreciate it. I want to say thank you to everybody that's new. Make sure that you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Also, Facebook.com, search The State of the Saints podcast. Previous episodes available on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor FM, and we're also a part of the Pigskin Podcast Network. Till next time, all I got to say is, who dat?